I was watching a video of a conversation between Robert Machado and Tommy Calloway. To be honest, I haven't been consuming much camera-related content in the last little bit, so I'm not as familiar with them as I'd like, but from what I've gathered, Robert is a full-time cinematographer based in Las Vegas with a fast-growing YouTube channel, and Tommy runs a YouTube channel that's heavily tech and gear-centric as a hobby. I've watched most of Robert's videos though, and every time he opens his mouth, I'm humbled. It really reminds me that cinematography is an exceptionally different field from videography and requires a level of technical expertise that I've never found myself needing. So when Tommy asked Robert,
"Do you think that the title YouTuber is derogatory?"
my ears shot up.
I think at one point I did.
Because I feel like this is a commonplace sentiment, especially in the professional field. There's almost this unspoken hierarchy between all of us people who use cameras. And I see a lot of comparisons or feeling like one profession is more professional than the other. For me, I used to always consider true filmmaking to be a term reserved only for those who are used to set life and working with crews. These are the people who are making the commercials we would see on television, the highly polished shows with big name celebrities, and of course, feature films. And here I am, holding a single camera, shooting this little social media ad that will be swept away when tomorrow comes around. But as the value of social media became more and more dominant in the marketing sphere, it became clear that the thing I was doing, which I began to refer to as videography, had a very important role to play. Everyone needed video marketing, but not everyone had the budget to hire large crews. A large portion of everyone needed videographers. Now, videography is a huge topic that can go in a multitude of directions, so I'm going to save that talk for another day. But the main point I want to get across is that we often define our craft or whatever we're doing in relation to something that already exists. This is what often leads to feelings of being inferior or imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome, in my opinion, has an incredibly simple solution. Be genuine, be true. If you don't think you fit into the definition of a filmmaker, then don't call yourself one. It's like a human trying to fit into clothes made for cats. And if you don't see a label for yourself out there, then create one. Again, a topic for another day, but labels can often be very valuable. For me, that meant distancing myself away from the term filmmaker, adopting the idea of a videographer, and now simply a boy with a camera. Now, this is where I think a lot of the criticism of YouTubers in our space comes from. Either they position themselves as expert filmmakers and videographers, or the audience does. I've seen less and less of the former, which is a good sign, but I'm not sure how the latter is progressing, because I still saw a lot of negative sentiments towards YouTubers in the comments of this past video of mine. Of course, I get it. The moment I realized I was a professional making actual income and doing actual client work for brands of all sizes, I began to see how my everyday workflow had no relation to a lot of what YouTubers were saying. When I was a full-time videographer, it would have been so great to have a place to go to or a resource online that would actually teach me the things I would need without having to go through the stress of learning things the hard way or sifting through hours of vlog footage and B-roll. But at the same time, what a rewarding process that was, and how necessary, because the videographer is perhaps the most fluid kind of filmmaker amidst the types mentioned today. Now, one can easily misconstrue this into the notion YouTubers have no idea what they're talking about, but I think that's the wrong way to go about it, and I don't agree with that. See, it's almost as if we're watching the wrong show. Like we're watching a kid's show and asking, why do the adult characters sound like fetuses? Or observing a high fashion runway and asking who in the world would wear this outfit to the grocery store. I think what we've forgotten is that videography was at one time a completely implausible career too. All this amazing gear we have used to be so inaccessible. There was actually a time when we did not have social media and smartphones. So when we think of the YouTube filmmaker, we should realize that there's a new audience now. There's a new industry now. The things these YouTubers teach and the context they bring to their gear reviews are all valid when you realize it's in many ways an entirely new side industry to filmmaking. And it's all quite fascinating if you think about it, because they actually do create these mini films or documentaries. They actually do a form of social media marketing videography when shooting B-roll for product reviews or sponsored videos. There are so many little parts and pieces that they've taken and incorporated from adjacent industries. And I wish more people would recognize this, especially newer creators, because yes, there are tons of pet peeves I have when people say certain things about gimbals and autofocus and whatnot, but that doesn't mean YouTube filmmaking is not a valid stream of work work, creation, and ultimately income. There is pride that you are more than allowed to have. When saying that you are an aspiring YouTuber or content creator, you are allowed to not know all the minute technical details and nomenclature associated with filmmaking. These are all completely valid and does not make you a fraud. I think on the grounds though that you realize that it does not make you a filmmaker in the traditional sense. So yes, I agree with Robert Machado that YouTubers are filmmakers, because I was surprised, but that was his answer. But I agree with asterisks. I don't think YouTubers are traditional filmmakers, and I think that's fine. I think it's important to say that because there needs to be a clear distinction for clarity in both the person themselves and the audience. Because what it leads to is a lot of this disrespectful bullshit that goes on online, and it's a mess. And we don't need that. We just need clarity, and we need to be proud of who we are and what we're doing. And that's it. Huge mouthful today. Thanks for listening. Yeah, be healthy.